Alright, welcome back to another Mechastellar Mobile Suit Gundam battle report. Today the Zeon and Earth Federation will be going at it again. This time we'll be doing the versus rules, where there are 5 control points, 1 in each quarter, and then 1 in the center. Each control of that point provides 1 momentum at the end of the round. And then for the rules for the verses are, let's see, this will be a 5-round game. You get victory points for destroying units depending on their frame level. And then enemy units with less than 50 hit points are worth half victory points. And then if you destroy the enemy commander, you gain victory points equal to the current round. And then if you destroy a challenge/revenge target, you gain 2 times the victory points. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a look at the unit rosters. Alright, starting off with the Zeon Force, we have the commander, Char, and his Zaku 2, and he's taking the 3 times as fast trait, which gives him 5 inch movement with fly, and then he gets to reroll 3 evades per round, or per attack, I believe. And then we have 2 Zaku 2s with machine guns, and then 2 Goths, and then with shields and their little hand weapon. Alright, on to the Earth Federation. Alright, and for the Federation, we have the commander today will be the Gundam G, Karen Joshua, and her trait is Unyielding, which gives her reroll failed armor saves, and then once per round gain +2 blocks. And then we have also her basic trait, Seasoned Veteran, gain momentum 1 or 1 focus action when it activates. Next up we have the Easy 8 Gundam, piloted by Shiro Amada. He's technically the commander, but he's going to let Karen Joshua take the reins today. And then he has the trait, when activated, he's the Idealist trait. If he has 50% less hit points or 0 momentum, he can gain 2 momentum or 2 focus actions. And then when this unit is destroyed, gain 3 momentum. Next up, we have 2 ground type GMs. Then we have the GM cannons, 2 of those, with 2 actions. And then lastly, we have the Desert GM with a railgun sniper, missile pod, and beam spray gun. So, with that, we'll go ahead and deploy and get ready for round 1. Alright, we have deployed. On my end, we have Char and the Goth behind the rock, controlling that point. And then the 2 Zakus and the other Goth on this left flank, holding that command point. And then on this end, we have the ground GM, the Desert GM, the Easy 8, and the gun cannon on this flank, followed by the Gundam, ground Gundam in the middle, Karen Joshua, and then another gun cannon and a GM on the right flank. So with that, we'll go ahead and roll off to see who has initiative. 2 to 3. Federation goes first. Alright, first activation was the Desert GM, which moved forward 6 inches and then got line of sight on my Goff. Is going to take a shot at that. So she chose Precision, increasing her shooting value to 11. I'm taking the dodge action, so bringing my evade 3 to evade 4. So I need, what do I need? I need at least 7. And I got 3 of them. And then I will use a momentum to negate the last one. Alright, and then my Goff will activate next. Alright, so I moved him forward, he's 13 inches, and then I full throttled him over in this direction, heading towards that control point. Next up, Earth Federation. Which one are we activating next?
I want to go for this cannon.
Alright, gun cannon next. Alright, she moved her GM gun cannon forward and then full throttled twice to get behind this rock and behind cover. I'm not sure if you can full throttle twice, but we are going to go ahead and say we can until we learn otherwise. So that leaves me to activate next. I'm going to go ahead and activate the second Goff. And we're going to move it and then full throttle as well. And that's where it ends up. Getting ready to head into these ruins. Alright, Federation. Who's next?
Karen.
Alright, activating Karen Joshua. Alright, Karen Joshua moves forward. And then with the trait, she took the extra momentum. And then she had clear line of sight on my Goff here. So she took the precision action. Or the precision shooting. And so bringing her shooting to a 11 again. So I'm taking the dodge again. So now I need, so there'll be 4 shots to evade. I need 7s or higher. And that's 2 successes. And so that's 2 fails. A 2 is a crit. So that's 2 failures. So I'm taking 3 hits from this. What's the, let's see. I got 2 momentum. I'm going to spend those 2 momentum to get rid of 2 hits. What's the penetration on this?
6.
6. Alright. No armor save, so I'll have to make a roll of 6 to not take critical damage. Or massive damage, which I did get. What's the base damage?
300.
300? Oh. Never mind. I forgot. Okay, I forgot the Goff has a shield. So I get 2 blocks with a shield. So I cancel out all the hits. Let's see. I failed 3. So I'll spend 1 momentum to get rid of that 3rd block. Alright, so no hits. And then we move on to the Xeon side. Alright, so I activated one of my Zaku's over here. I moved them forward and then full throttled them even farther. And then we move on to Federation sides. Which one are we going to pick?
This cannon guy.
Alright, second gun cannon. Alright, so the gun cannon decided to stay still and used a focus action to gain a +1 hit for the next shooting attack. And then for the second action, she is shooting at my Goff here. So, and then she does precision, giving her shooting 10 instead of 9. And then I'm taking the dodge action, or the dodge skill as well. So I need 6s this time to evade, and this is 5 shots. So I got 3 of them. And then that is a crit, giving another shot. And then the automatic +1 hit. So my shield will block 2 of those. And then I take 2 hits. What's the damage on these?
400 apiece. Didn't you block 2 with the last?
I could do it for each attack.
For each.
Yes. Artillery cannon, 400 damage each. Alright, what's the penetration? No penetration.
No.
Alright. Man, I'm spending a lot of momentum. Alright, I'm going to spend one momentum to negate one of those. So I only take 400 damage on this Goth. And we move on to Xeon turn. Alright, for Xeon, we activated my second Zaku, which moved forward and then full throttled to get right there. Then we move back on to the Federation's turn. What are we doing next?
We're gonna do this guy.
Alright, activating the Easy 8. Alright, Easy 8 moved forward and then full throttled, as it wasn't in range to shoot anybody. And then for Xeon, I will be activating my last unit, which will be Char, who will be zipping forward and hopefully got himself a nice target. Alright, Char comes zipping around this corner. He spends his Red Comet trait to give 1 momentum. And then he is in range of the Easy 8. So he's taken 4 shots at the Easy 8 with precision, bringing his accuracy shooting to 10. And then she chose the guard action for a +1 block. So she'll need 6s to evade. And she got 3 of them, and then her shield will block that one as she takes 0 damage. And then we move on to Federation's turn. Alright, and then the Earth Federation had 2 units left, so she just moved her GM forward, didn't full throttle, and then on the other side also moved that GM forward. And with that, we end round 1. And we both gain 1 momentum for each control point we hold. And then we'll roll off to see who goes first this round. That's a 10 for me, and a 7 for me for a Xeon first turn. Alright, so I activated Char first, so he moved forward, and then he used his trait to gain a focus action, and giving him a +1 hit on his next shooting attack. And he decided to shoot at the GM ground type over here. So I have a +1 hit, and then I chose Barrage for an extra shot, giving me 5 shots on the GM. And then she chose the guard for an extra block. So she is evade 1, so she needs 8s to dodge these. Oh, she got 3. Wow.
And then I blocked
Way to go.
2.
And you block 2, but I get a +1 hit with my focus trait. So you do get hit once, unless you spend a momentum.
How much is that hit?
It's 800.
What's
Or
the
700 damage.
With 700 damage?
Yep, with an armor save.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna spend a momentum.
Spend a momentum to negate that. Alright, and then we move on to Federation's turn, which will be this GM. Alright, GM moved forward a little bit, and then takes 7 shots at Char here. She chose precision, bringing her shooting to 10. And then I took the dodge, giving me a 5 evade. So I need 5s and up to dodge. And then I get to re-roll 3. So we got everything but 1, and then I'll re-roll that, which still misses. And then, so I'll just take the damage. What's the damage?
200.
200? Alright. Bringing me down to 1900 hit points left. Then we move on to Xeon's turn. Alright, next I activated the Goth here, who just moved into cover in the ruins, capturing this control point. And then we move on to Federation side. Who are we activating?
We'll do Karen, because he has a clean.
Okay.
Clear that.
Alright, Karen Joshua moved forward and got clear line of sight on my Goff in the ruins here. And she chose precision. I chose dodge, so I'll need 7s. Yeah, I'll need 7s to evade these shots. So I do get 2 blocks. I failed 3, and 1 is a crit. Give it an extra failed. So, and then my shield will block 2 of these. So I take 2 hits. What's the damage on these?
Just 300.
And the penetration?
6.
6. Alrighty, I need 6s to not take these. Actually, no. I'm gonna spend 2 momentum to negate the blocks. Not taking any damage. Because if I would have probably failed those and taken 1,000 damage each.
How much momentum do you have?
That puts me down to 1 momentum left.
Oh man.
And then we move on to Zeon's turn. Alright, so I chose my second Goff, which moved 13 inches within engagement range of Karen Joshua, bringing us into melee. So, and then I use my action to focus, giving me a +1 hit. And then I get an additional +1 hit for the clash for melee. So I got 2 auto hits. And then I spent my 7 dice. I'm spending 5 of them for melee, for the attack action, and 2 for defense. And then she had 7 dice as well, and she's spending 3 for defense and 4 for attack. And then she chose the guard, giving her 1 block, and then she'll have another block for her shield. So, I will need 5s to hit. And then, so it looks like just 3 hits, and then 2 additional for the auto hits.
Okay.
Alright.
So 2 blocks.
Alright, and then you gotta need 5 up to evade. You can block these. And you got 2 of them, plus an additional 2, so you block 4. And then, so you take 1 hit.
Which can I use?
You can spend a momentum if you want to.
I do want to spend a momentum to get rid of that last one.
Okay. So no damage done. And then you get to swing as well. So with your remaining dice, what was it, 4?
4.
Alright. Needing 5s. Nothing. Not a single hit. Alright. And then I won't have to roll my defense. So that ends the melee action. And then we move on to the Federation's turn. Alright, she activated the Easy 8, which moved forward into engagement range with the Goff. So, she focused to gain a +1 hit on her next attack. And then she's a skilled pilot, giving her 2 hits for the melee clash. So she has 3 auto hits already. And then she split her dice into 3 attack dice, or 4 attack dice.
Yes.
Alright, and then, so go ahead and roll those. And then I chose to guard, giving me an extra block. Oh, those are 3 crits. So that's 6 hits. And then this one failed. So that is a total of
Plus the 3 automatic.
6 hits and then 3 more.
Oof.
So that's 3, 6, 7, 9 total hits. Alright, and I've spent 5 dice for my block. So I wasn't expecting this many hits. Alright, 5s. And only got 1. I don't know if the 9 counts for 2s. I'll have to double check. But I do got a shield, which gives me 2 blocks. And then the additional block for the guard action. So that is just 4 blocks. So I take 3, 4, 5 hits from a beam saber. which does 300 damage, but with an 8 penetration. I only got 1 momentum left. It's not even worth it. Okay, so 3, 4, 5. 5 armor saves. This is not good. My armor save is a 0, so I need to make 5 8s to block. Let me check to see if a 9 gives me a critical defense or something like that. Alright, so 9s do not give me 2 blocks, so it'll be 5 armor saves, so I need 5 8s. I can do it, right? Oh, so close.
Almost.
But you know what? It's critical damage, it's 1,000 each. I have 2,600 hit points, so the Goth is alive at 600 hit points left. Took a lot of damage, but we're still standing. And we move on to Zeon's turn. Alright, before I move on, I have to strike back because I actually lived. I forgot all about it because I didn't think I'd be alive. I actually have 200 hit points left from the earlier damage I took. So, 2 attacks with the Heat Sword. I get a +1 hit with this. So I'm already hitting her for 1. And then I get to reroll 1s. So, needing 5s. Nothing. Just the 1 hit. And then she's got 3 defense die to try and block. Actually, you don't even need to roll that because you have a shield.
Oh yeah, okay.
So with that, I'll move on and activate one of my Zakus. Alright, I activated this Zaku over here, which moved forward and showed us shooting at the closest target, which was the gun cannon. So, and then I took Precision, bringing me to shooting 10. And then she chose the Guard, giving her a +1 block. And then, so her evade is a +1, so she'll need 9s to dodge these. So, just 1. And then 3 auto hits with the rapid fire. And then again, she can immediately cancels those out with her shield in the guard action. So she takes 6 hits. Gonna spend any momentum. This is 200 points each. Actually, yeah.
What's the, do you have a pen?
No. That'll be 1,200 hit points total. That'll leave you with 400 hit points left, unless you spend some momentum.
You know what? I'm gonna block 3 with the momentum.
Okay.
And take 2, 4, 6.
600 damage.
So that brings me down to 1,000 health.
Yep. All right. 600 damage to the GM gun cannon. And then we move on to Earth's turn, which will be that gun cannon activating next. Alright, so she activated the gun cannon, which will be shooting at my Zaku. She's going to spend her first action to shoot with the artillery cannon. And it is rapid fire -2. So I'm assuming that means it'll be -2 hits. Since it's an artillery cannon, I'll have to ask the creator of the rules to see. Next up, and then she chose Barrage, giving her an extra shot. And then I chose the Dodge, bringing my evade to a 5. So I only need to roll 4s, because her shooting is a 9. And so I evaded 4. And then with the rapid fire -2, those will miss. So nothing from that one. And then she will also shoot with her second action using the beam spray gun. So this will be 4 attacks.
If it's close range though, I get a +1 hit.
rapid fire range. You're not. I already measured.
Okay.
So, are you going to precision or barrage this?
We'll do precision.
Okay. And I will do the dodge. So, I will need... What do I need? My dodge is now 5 evade. Yours is a 10, so I need 5s. 4 shots?
4 shots.
Alright, 5s to evade. And I only evaded 1. And then I rolled a 1 and a 2. Those are crits. So I take 5 hits from that. What's the damage?
The damage is 300 each, and the pen is 5.
Penetration of 5. Wow. My rolls are off. Okay. Man. No armor saves either. This is going to be a dead Zaku. This is not looking good for Zeon. Yeah, you know what? It's not worth spending any momentum. So I need 5 armor saves. 5 up armor saves. Failed 2.
600?
If I would have spent one of those momentums, maybe I would have lived. That's 2,000 damage. You know what? Zaku's have 2,100 health. So the Zaku lives at 100 hit points left. And I move on to Zeon's turn. Alright, second Zaku moves up to support the other one and gets a line of sight on this ground GM. So it's going to be 7 shots. I took precision, giving me shooting 10. And then she took the dodge, giving her evade 2. So she needs to roll 8s to block, or to evade. And that's, ooh, got 2 crits. And you dodged 2 of them. And then 2 additional for the crits. And then your shield takes 1 out. Yep. So that's...
Do you have any pen?
No.
No.
That's 1,200 damage.
Oh my goodness. I got 2 momentum.
Is it worth your momentum to spend on your grunts?
You said that's how much damage?
1,200.
He has 2,000. A little over 2,000. We'll take it.
Taking it? Alright. Taking the damage for 1,200 to the GM. And we move on to Earth's turn, which will be that ground GM's activation. Alright, GM, move forward to get in rapid fire range of this Zaku. And is going to shoot at that one. So, and then she chose precision, bringing her to shooting to 10.
Yes.
And then I took the guard action, giving me a block. So now I need to roll 6s to dodge, or to evade. And I failed 3, and one of them was a crit. And then, but my block takes out one of them, so I only take 3 hits. Giving me 600 damage to the Zaku 2. That is uninjured, so I'll take that. And then we move on to the Earth, or the Federation's turn again, because all my units have activated. Alright, minor correction. I take 1,200 damage because of the 3 additional auto hits from rapid fire range. So, which I will be taking and not spending any momentum on. So, 1,200 damage to that Zaku, and then we move on to Federation. Alright, gun cannon activated next. She spent a focus to target anyone she wanted. And then with that action, she is going to shoot at my weakest Zaku over here. She took precision, bringing her shooting to a 10. I spent guard. I used guard to give me a +1 block. So I need 6s to dodge. And that is a dead Zaku. Even with, as a crit. So yeah, dead Zaku. Our first casualty on the board.
How much momentum do I get for that?
You don't get any momentum, I don't think. You get points.
Oh, I thought I got momentum.
Just points. So with that, we move on to the Desert GM next. Alright, next up the GM, Desert GM move forward and is going to shoot its missile salvo at my Goth over here in the ruins. So this will be 6 shots. She took precision, giving her shooting 11. I took dodge, giving me evade 4, so I need 7s to dodge these. Ouch.
2 crits.
So I only took, okay, and then the 2 crits, give me 2 additional, but I do have a shield, which blocks 2 of them. So I take 4 hits. I'm going to spend 1 momentum to get rid of another one, so I take 3. And then the armor penetration is...
200?
So armor penetration is 3. Right?
Yes, 3.
Alright, so now to make 3 up armor saves. Or take 1,000 damage each. Which I did it. I passed it. So what's the base damage? 300?
2.
200? So 2 for 600 damage to the Goth. And then we move on to round 3. Let's go ahead and roll off initiative. See who goes first. That's a 4 and a 10 for Federation first turn. Alright, start of round 3. She activated the gun cannon first, which came up behind cover and is going to spend both of actions to shoot at the Zaku. So we're going to start off with the artillery cannon, which is rapid fire -2. She chose barrage, giving her 5 attacks to 6. And then I chose the dodge action, which gives me my evasion of 5. So all I need to roll is 4s to dodge these attacks. And I dodged all but 2. And then with the rapid fire, it takes away those. So I suffer no hits from the artillery cannon. And then how many shots from the beam spray gun?
4, and then +1 for close range.
Rapid fire?
Automatic
So
hit.
1 hit, okay. And are you going to do precision again? Or barrage?
This time I will do precision.
Okay.
So it'll bring it to a 10 for shooting.
Yep, and I'm going to do evade as well. So now I need to roll 5s to dodge these. Oof. Alright, so I failed 2. And that is a crit. And then with the rapid fire, I take 4 hits. What's the damage on these?
300.
300 with penetration of 6.
Of 5.
5. I got 3 momentum. I got 900. So I'd have to spend all my momentum, or the Zaku goes down, which will only leave me with 3 mobile suits left. I can't lose another mobile suit this early, so I'm going to spend 3 momentum, and now I need to roll a 5-up penetration armor save, or suffer massive damage of 1,000, in which case the Zaku goes down again. So this is a big risk. Let's see if it pays off. And that is a 4. Zaku number 2 goes down in a burst of flames, and I lose all my momentum. And with that, we go to Zeon's turn. Alright, a slightly demoralized Zeon. Char activates, moving 8 inches next to this wall and taking some shots at the ground GM over here. I'm doing the barrage action with the bazooka. So this will be 5 shots, into the GM, and then she took the guard, giving her a block. So this will be 5 attacks, and she needs 8s to dodge. And that's exactly what I like to see. So she failed all of them. And then 2 crits. So, which the shield and the guard will take out. So you take 5 hits.
Do you have a pen?
Oh yeah, I do.
Alright, so I'm going to spend 4.
4 momentum, all your momentum.
What's your pen number?
3.
You're making me second guess. It's just 3?
Yeah, you just gotta roll 2s.
I just have to roll 2.
For the armor save.
Okay.
How much health do you got left on that one? It's the one.
He's full health.
Full health? Okay, so you'd survive. It's 14. That'd be 21. So you will survive if you fail those.
Alright, so I'll do 3.
3 momentum?
Yeah.
Alright. And so that's 1400 damage. And then 2 up armor saves. That is a fail. So that's a massive damage. So you take 1700 damage.
Ouch. Okay. But this one's saved?
Yes, that one's saved. So 1700 damage to the ground GM, and then it will activate next. Alright, ground GM has decided to stay still and just fire rapid fire into my into Char. So this is 7 attacks. She took precision, bringing shooting 10. I took dodge with evasion 5. So just need 5s to dodge these. So I failed all but 2, and then with my trait I get to re-roll the evasion, and I pass, and then I take 3 auto hits for and then so that's 3 hits with the machine gun, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use my new type ability for, it's called NT Flash. Twice per game, gain 3 blocks this turn. So I will go ahead and negate that for no damage. And we move on to Zeon's turn. Alright, next we activated the Goof, or the Goff. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I think it's the Goff. I prefer Goff. Anyways, it moved forward into engagement range with the Easy 8. I chose to, I have 7 attack die, or 7 melee die. I'm going to spend 5 of them for attack. She spent 5 for defense for her. And then, so I get a +1 attack with my heat sword, or a +1 hit with the heat sword, and an additional hit for attacking. So I need 5s, and I get to reroll 1s. Go ahead and re-roll those. And nope, just 2 hits. And so that's a total of, well, actually, those are crits. So those count as 2 additional hits. And then the 2 auto hits. And then
I got 2 blocks, so.
Yep, your shield will block 2 of those. And then you got 5 dice to try and block these. You needed 5s. You got all but 1, which is all you needed.
Yep.
Alright, no damage. And then you get to attack with your 2. Needing a 5. Nothing. Alright, and then I don't need to roll defense. And then we move on to Federation's turn. Alright, Easy 8 activates next, and is going to strike at my wounded Goth. So, and she's going to do 4 attacks I'm for her, and then 3 defense, while I'm spending 6 on defense and 1 on attack. And then she got 2 auto hits for a focus and for melee. So go ahead and roll. And then I chose the what am I choosing? It's either the guard or a block. I'm gonna do the counter, giving me a +1 hit. Okay, let's go ahead. And you didn't hit a single one. All right, I'll take that. But you did 2 hits, which 2 auto hits, which my shield will block. And then so I get 1 attack, +1 hit with the heat sword, and then an additional hit with the counter. So I already got 2 hits, and that's it. So just 2 hits, and then your shield will block one of those. And you blocked the second one. No damage done for both of us, once again. And then next up, that Goth will activate. Alright, this Goth activates, and I'm doing melee into the easy 8. So, and I chose 6 for attack, 1 for defense. And then I get a +1 hit for melee, and then a additional +1 hit for the heat sword, and then a third one with my focus action for 3 hits with the heat sword, and then 6s or 5s to roll to get an additional hit, and then I get to reroll 1s. So no 1s, but I did get 5 more hits for a total of 8 hits. And then she will roll 7 for defense.
Take out 2 for the blocking.
We'll go ahead and roll 7 defense
7
first.
Defense.
And then she took the guard for an extra block. So that's 3. Oh, actually, the crits are a little different for melee. I don't remember if that one. I got at least 1 crit. It's for a total of 9 hits. And you got 3 blocks plus an additional 2.
Yeah.
Alright. So it's a total of 5 blocks to my 9. So you take 4 hits with the heat sword. That's 300 damage each. Unless you want to spend any momentum to block it any additional.
What's the pen?
5.
Do you have a pen?
Yep. You'll need to roll 4s.
I will roll 4s.
Actually, yeah. All right, so you're just taking it?
Yeah.
All right. So that's 1,200 damage. And then 4 armor saves. So you need 4 ups. Which you got all of them. So you just take 1,200 damage. And then you spend them all on defense, so you got no more attacks. So with that, we go to Federation's turn. Alright, next up, Karen Joshua is activating. She used her action to focus, and then she will engage the Goth in melee. So, she's got 1 auto hit for engaging in melee, and then another one for focusing. And then she's going to roll 5 dice to hit, and she's got 2 for defense. So she needs 5s. And so we got 3 hits, and one of them is a crit, gaining her an extra hit. So 4 total hits. And then I got 5 defense dice, which I only score 2. And then, so... having a brain fart here. So, let's see, yeah, I got 2 of the defense. So I take 2 hits, and then 2 additional with the auto hits. And then I got a shield, which takes away 2 of them, which blocks 2 of them. Leave me with 2 hits. No momentum. I got 1 momentum to spend. Can't spend it. So I will just... that'll take me out. As I only have 200 hit points left. So that Goff goes down. And then we move on. Alright, next up is the gun cannon over here, as all my other mobile suits have activated. So, gun cannon has chosen to fire at my Char. Are you focusing with this, since you have 2 actions?
Yeah, I can focus.
Okay. So she's going to focus for an auto hit. And then she's doing precision, giving her shooting 10. And then I'm taking the dodge, giving me evade 5. So I need 5 to dodge these attacks. And then I get to re-roll up to 3 dice. And I take 1 crit. For a total of 3 hits. What's the damage on these?
For the cannon, it's 400 apiece.
400 apiece. Alright. So, I'm going to use my second NT flash to gain 3 blocks this turn to negate that. And I am all out of my new type ability. And then we move on to the rest of her mobile suits. Alright, next up is the Desert GM shooting the missile salvo into Char. It is in rapid fire range, so to get 3 auto hits, and then she chose precision, bringing it to shooting 11.
Yes.
And then I took the dodge, bringing mine to evade 5, so I need 6s to dodge these. Okay, we got 3, and I'll re-roll those with my evade. For 2 more, but I did roll another crit. So that's 2 hits with a 3 on top. And then I got cover, so that takes out 1. So I take 4 of these, and they're what, 200 each?
Yeah.
Penetration 3, so I have to roll armor saves or take 1,000 damage. So, pen of 3?
Yeah.
So I need 3s. And I got them all, so I don't take critical damage. So that's 2, 4, 6, 800 damage to Char. And he's still standing with 1,100 left. Moving on. And lastly, this ground GM over here moved towards the last remaining mobile suits for Xeon. And that's where we end round 3. And now, so we go into round 4, and we got to roll off initiative to see who goes first. A 7 and a 6 for a Xeon first turn. And so we're going to calculate momentum and then start off with Xeon. Alright, so an outnumbered Xeon, we're going to make some risky moves. I moved Char 10 inches, and then I took, with my extra action, I took the focus, and I'm taking a shot at the ground GM. And I chose Barrage, so this will be 5 shots, 1 auto hit for the focus, and then she took the guard, or no, she took dodge to increase her evade to +2. So she needs to roll 7s to dodge these. Oh wow, look at that, she rolled 4. And then, yep, that is a critical. So she takes 3 hits, and her shield will block out 1 of those. So she takes 2 for a total of 700 each. And you have to make an armor save, unless you want to spend some momentum.
700 each.
Mm-hmm.
Can He'll get die anyways. I'm not gonna spend momentum. He has 900.
Okay. So you're just gonna take it?
Yep.
Alright. So that GM goes down. And then Char is gonna use the rest of his movement to go into engagement range of this GM. And then we'll go into melee combat. Alright, so Char's got 5 attacks with his Heat Hawk, and I'm using them all for the attack. So this will be 5 attacks, and re-rolling 1s and 2s. Need 5s. And then re-rolling. Nope. And then that 9 is a critical. And then I got 1 auto hit for attacking, for a total of 6 hits. And then she will roll defense. She took the guard, so she's getting 1 block. She needs 5s. Got 2 of them. So, and then a 3rd. So she blocks 3 attacks, taking 3 in return. This
an
is...
automatic block too, though, right?
I just added that.
You did?
Yes. So that is 300 damage apiece with the Heat Hawk. And a penetration of 5. Spending any momentum?
We'll spend 1.
1? Okay. I guess for 1, and then you gotta make 2 armor saves. What's your armor save? 0? Yes. So you need 5s. You got 1 of them. So you take 1,000 damage from that attack. And then we move on to Federation's turn. Alright, before we move on, Char took no damage in that fight, so he's going to try and do a finishing blow. So I need a 5. And I got it, so that's an additional 1,000 damage. And then we move on. Alright, the Desert GM activated next, and it decided to spend a momentum to disengage, and then full throttle back even farther away from Char. And with that, we go on to Zeon's turn, which I'll activate the Goth. And it'll be going into melee with Shiro. Alright, the Goth is desperate, so it's going to use all 7 of its melee dice on attack. And then we focused for 1 auto hit, and then a 2nd auto hit for engaging in melee, or being the attacker, and a 3rd one for my heat sword. So, 7 more dice, and then she chose the guard for an additional block, plus her shield. So, let's get some 5s. There's 1 crit, and then re-rolling 1s for an additional hit, and then for a total of 6 hits. And an additional 3. And then she will roll all 7 of her dice for defense. And let's see here. We got a total of 5. Plus 2 for the shield. For a total of 7 blocks. Leaving just 2 hits going through.
What are the damages?
It is 300 damage apiece with penetration 5.
Okay.
Taking it?
Yep, I have an armor save.
Okay. What is your armor save?
+1.
+1, so you need 4s. Failed both of them. So that'll be 1,000 damage each.
Oh man.
Unless you want to spend momentum.
Can I do that?
Mm-hmm. They are skilled pilots.
Then yes.
For both of them or just one?
Just 1.
Okay. So you take a total of 1,300 damage. And then we move on to Federation's turn. Alright, Shiro activated next, and he spent a momentum to disengage, and he moves over here. And then we move on to Karen Joshua, who will now shoot into the Goth. This will be 4 shots. She chose precision, bringing her accuracy to 11. I took the dodge, bringing mine to a 4 evade. And then she took a focus for her skill ability to gain an additional hit with the rapid fire. So 4 shots, I need 7s to dodge this. Or is it 7s? Yes. And I got 2 of them, and then those 2s are crits. Yeah. So, it ends up being a total of 6 hits altogether. My shield will block 2 of them. I got 4 momentum, spending all the momentum to keep him alive, reducing me to 0 momentum, and then we move on to the rest of her units. Alright, next up, the gun cannon will fire into Char. First, we're going to do the artillery cannon. So this is 5 shots. She took the precision. I took the dodge, so I need 5s to dodge, to evade. So I got 3 of them, and then I get to re-roll. And I failed both of them, and 1 is a crit. For a total of 3 hits. And then it was -2 for being in rapid fire range. So I just take 1 hit. I don't have any momentum to spend, so what's the damage?
400.
400 and no penetration?
Nope.
Alright. So I take 400, bringing me down to 700 hit points less. And then she will fire the beam spray cannon next. Alright, 4 attacks with the beam spray cannon into Char. She took precision, bringing her shooting back to a 10. I took the dodge, bringing me to evasion 5. So I need 5s. And then 2 failed, re-rolling. Which I got both of them. So I take no damage. And then we move on to the rest of our units. Alright, next up, the ground GM over here is going to take a shot at Char. It is in rapid fire range, so that's 3 auto hits. And then she took precision, I took dodge, needing 5s to evade. And then I failed 3, which I get to re-roll. For just 1 additional hit. For a total of 4 hits. I have no more momentum, so I take 200 apiece, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. 800. I only have 700 left. Char goes down. But of course, he ejects before the Zatu blows up to fight another day. And with that, there's no hope for Xeon victory today. So the Goth will turn and retreat for a Federation victory. Thanks for watching, guys.